Season of the Deep is coming to an end, which is the second season in the Lightfall expansion. So, how was it for you? Well, today I'm going to take a closer look at the latest season from Bungie, plus rate it against other seasons that we've seen in Destiny 2. Without further delay, let's dive right into this season review for Season of the Deep. First of all, the story. So much of the story this season was focused on Sloane returning and communicating with that creature under the Methane Sea, and that creature was called Usher. We learned the origin of the Witness in one of the most important cutscenes that we've had in Destiny 2, with many calling for it to be part of the Lightfall expansion. And that was one of the reoccurring themes throughout the season. Anytime anything good happened, there was calls to put it in the Lightfall campaign, which is fair, given the Lightfall campaign was a pretty incomplete story. Sloane and Zavala had a memorable cutscene where Sloane momentarily held a sword to Zavala's throat, in a moment where Ziva Urath appeared to be speaking through Sloane, and the return of Titan was part of the story of the season, although Titan didn't actually return as a patrollable location. We couldn't go around and explore it like we could the Leviathan. It was purely for specific missions, so it would have been really good if it was added to the helm where we could get there and go on Titan and patrol it, much like we've done with other locations that have gone into the Destiny content vault, but it just wasn't to be. Another key part of the seasonal story was Veil Containment. This appears to be Bungie's experiment to help explain the Veil, given all the audience feedback that Bungie failed to explain the Veil in the Lightfall campaign. Much of the year so far has been making up for the shortcomings of Lightfall, and the current community sentiment definitely reflects that. Veil Containment is a location on Neomuna where we'd load in each week and get a new recorded message. This told the story of Chioma Essie and Maya Sundaresh, with Chioma's weekly audio logs describing losing her wife Maya to her dedication of understanding the Veil. It was revealed that Lakshmi 2 was a copy of Maya, who'd returned to Earth to lead the future war cult, but ultimately would get killed in Season of the Splicer. Now, even though Veil Containment was drip-fed over weeks, I did really enjoy the story, even if the delivery method could have been a lot better. Now, it feels like once we've gotten past the final shape, the Vex could be our next enemy in waiting. We may hear more about Maya Sundaresh. Well, that was the story. Next up, let's have a look at the seasonal activities. So we had a few seasonal activities in Season of the Deep, including the very forgettable Salvage, which I really hope I don't have to do again, and also the much more compelling Deep Dives. They were a hell of a lot better. Salvage was not a lot of fun, whereas Deep Dives were much more engaging. Fishing was also introduced into Destiny this season, which was entertaining for the first few weeks, but then quickly became a chore. Fishing was a viable way of getting loot, but even old Reckoning weapons couldn't make that activity fun. Hidden inside the deep dive activity was an exotic mission called Whetstone. So we had to catch 3 exotic fish throughout the season, and then in the latter parts of the season go into deep dives and activate 3 torches to open a secret door with a timed mission, and you have to take down a very aggressive tormentor. Wicked Implement was the exotic reward here. That is a stasis scout rifle, and I haven't actually managed to get a team together to get the Wicked Implement myself. But I have done the mission plenty of times and taken that tormentor right to the wire. Just haven't managed to get it over yet. So if you want to help me out, let me know in the comments. Would really love to hear from you. Now, Wicked Implement, as I mentioned, is a stasis scout rifle, and it is getting a big buff next season, given Bungie was fairly conservative with it out of the gate. Well, next up we got the dungeon. So one of the highlights of the season was definitely Ghosts of the Deep Dungeon. It was focused around the Lucent Hive trying to revive Oryx, and Savathun did say the Taken King would rise again. That may well come true one day. The dungeon itself had many underwater sections, and the replayability suffered from the health of the final boss. Other than that, I would say a very enjoyable dungeon. The story was the standout component of the dungeon for me, which probably tells its own story. Also, it wasn't easily soloable for those wanting to go for the solo challenges. Next up, let's have a look at the loot. So we had 2 sets of weapons this season, Taken themed weapons and returning Reckoning weapons. So spare rations returned, and that was very disappointing. Last Rite was the ritual weapon for the season, was a reskin of a legendary scout rifle from Spire of the Watcher, and that came out a few seasons ago. The Last Wish raid weapons were made into craftable weapons, which had many players grinding that raid once again, plus also Loaded Question made a return as a Nightfall weapon. And you may have spotted a recurring theme there of loads of returning weapons. That just tells me the Destiny 2 team, well, they are heads down and working on the final shape. We had more Strand weapons introduced with the new Strand rocket launcher, the Crowning Duologue, as part of Solstice, the Thin Precipice Sword, and the Laser Painter Linear Fusion Rifle, just to name a few. The dungeon weapons were okay, nothing really to write home about. Positive Outlook was a good introduction into Vanguard Ops, but otherwise the loot this season was fairly homogenised. There's just so many weapons in Destiny 2 right now. It really is hard to stand out, and also we've got constant balance patches making sure we don't get too many outliers. Well, next up we had our seasonal event, and Solstice was the main summer event this season, and to be honest, I really enjoyed Solstice this year. It's probably the most I played Destiny 2 this season. It was really good for me having a clear set of goals, and that worked really, really well. So while events can be repetitive, I strangely enjoyed Solstice this year. So where does this rank with other seasons? So the season is definitely in the middle somewhere. It's not the worst season we've had, but it's by far from the best. So here's a rundown of a few of the pros and cons from me. So the pros, first of all, the dungeon, very good. Veil Containment story, very good. Deep dives, the exotic mission, Solstice, I'm going to put in pros. That's probably a surprise to many people. And also Xivu Arath's voice work. The voice actor behind Xivu Arath did an absolutely phenomenal job. In terms of the cons for the season, I think lackluster weapons, the Veil Containment delivery, the salvage activity, not very good. No Titan, can't patrol around Titan, not very good. And also we had a very poor state of the game. A lot of people looking forward to that article, and it was just really received very, very poorly. And I think overall for the season, I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. Let me know down in the comments what you would rate the season out of 10. Would really, really love to hear what you think. Well, next up I want to talk a little bit about community sentiment at the moment. So it does appear to be an all-time low. High-profile players are vocal about the lack of PvP support, and many are being vocal about not supporting or pre-ordering the final shape. This reflects the overall negative opinion of Lightfall and the way that campaign unfolded. And kicking off the penultimate year of Destiny 2's Light vs Darkness saga with a dud campaign sowed the seeds of discontent in the community. A lackluster state of the game followed, and that had Joe Blackburn come out and basically apologise, saying a PvP map pack is coming, plus they're going to create a PvP strike team. But Joe, where was this PvP strike team before? For years and years, where PvP has been neglected. Oh, and also he's going to stream Destiny 2 and take feedback. That's Joe Blackburn, of course. Well, good luck to this brave man for doing that. On a positive note, personally, I'm feeling pretty good about Destiny 2. I haven't been playing as hard as I normally would since the release of Lightfall. One, it just hasn't been as engaging for me this year. Plus, I've been playing other games like The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, Baldur's Gate 3, Street Fighter 6 and Diablo 4. I play Destiny 2 at the moment when I want to, and when it's not engaging, I simply take a break. I still enjoy Nightfall's dungeons, raids, and also the occasional PvP match. Well, that is it for my review of Season of the Deep in Destiny 2, but let me know down in the comments what you thought about Season of the Deep. Would love to hear your pros and also your cons as well, and also let me know what you want to see from the Destiny 2 showcase. That is coming tomorrow. Very, very exciting stuff. Well, that is it for my review of Season of the Deep, and as always, thank you so much for watching or listening. Well, don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you real soon.